Good evening. He's the man who helped reveal the crisis involving lead-contaminated water in Flint, Michigan.
And tonight, Professor Mark Edwards says Metro Schools needs to start over with its tests of drinking water in the district schools.
Our chief investigative reporter Phil Williams first exposed the lead problems almost a year ago, and he's still on the story. Phil.
Well, Metro Schools has tried to convince parents to ignore our stories. Their public relations team even set up a special section on the district's website to put a positive spin on the story. So we went to one of the nation's top experts, and he says the test results posted on that website don't mean much.
You know, you got to applaud people for doing the testing, but frankly, those results need to be thrown right in the garbage.
Professor Mark Edwards from Virginia Tech is the scientist who convinced Flint, Michigan that it had a lead problem in its drinking water. And he fears the tests conducted by Metro Schools may mask a bigger problem.
Well, if your child's in a classroom and they've tested it as safe when that tap is dispensing hazardous levels of lead, that's just flat out wrong. You don't want your kid drinking that water. I don't want your kid drinking that water.
It's settled some. You can see the crud there.
Recently, Metro Schools maintenance worker Joey Combs brought us a sample of contaminated water from a school where the district had tested and assured parents that the water was safe. It turns out the district has been sending workers into schools the day before tests are conducted to flush the debris out of the system before the samples are collected.
Start in the kitchen, leave everything turned on. The showers down in the locker rooms, football locker rooms, leave everything turned on.
You go in, you open up everything on the cold side, wide open, let it run for a couple hours.
A couple of hours, you say?
Yeah, that's what we did that day. That's what we were instructed to do that day.
Right. It creates an artificial condition which makes the lead look lower when you sample it, when it could be high when your kids are drinking it.
In essence, the person doing the flushing is following EPA guidance.
Metro Schools posted this video from the vendor doing the testing, arguing that the process, known as pre-stagnation flushing, follows EPA suggestions for schools. But after Edwards' work in Flint, the EPA issued new instructions for testing in homes, saying EPA recommends that sampling instructions not contain a pre-stagnation flushing step.
And it's creating a false sense of security. I would just, frankly, I'd throw them in the garbage and start over.
That's exactly what Edwards advised when the issue arose in New York City schools. The district retested and found much higher levels of the toxic metal, which is what he predicts Metro Schools would find.
They're going to find more taps. Many taps are being classified as safe presently that will be detected as hazards when you use the normal protocol.
And that's why the professor argues Metro owes it to the children to start over.
There's nothing worse than telling people that their water is safe when it's not.
Even if it costs a lot more money.
Even if it costs a lot more money. The damage lead does is irreversible. I would not want that on my conscience, that children were drinking too much lead in their water because I used a protocol that hid lead.
This afternoon, Metro Schools emailed us to say they checked with the EPA. The school spokesperson said the EPA told them that the guidance that came out of the Flint crisis, that this sort of flushing skews the results, only applies to public water systems, not to schools. We asked why the science would be any different, but the spokesperson did not have an answer to that question. Vicki?
All right, thanks so much, Phil. Now, we reached out to Nashville Mayor David Briley. Despite the Flint expert's opinion, he said he's been told there's, quote, no reason for concern. But some of his opponents in tomorrow's election for mayor had some different ideas. Just go to newschannel5.com to read their responses for yourself.